Welcome to our channel, Raising Special Needs. Thank you for joining us.
So hi, Erin. So happy that you have taken the time to spend a little time with us today via Zoom. I hope that you and your family, well, I know that your family are keeping safe, and I hope that that will continue to be the case. So I reached out to you because of the challenge that we're now experiencing in this COVID crisis that has affected us here in Jamaica, like the rest of the world. Jamaica got its first case on March 1st, and the country went into shutdown mode since then. And so while we are containing the community spread, because our borders were shut down 2 weeks ago, and so while we're containing the community spread, while we're containing the spread of persons bringing in the virus, because that's how we got it in the first place, there is a concern for the community spread. And so we're into that phase of the management of this pandemic. And as part of that, our schools are closed. So like with the rest of the world. But the challenge that we're having is that many of our children with special needs, in particular children generally, but children with special needs in particular, are now home on the parents, and most parents do not know what to do with the children, especially when the children are nonverbal, when the children have short attention span. For some parents, there's a communication barrier because the child might speak, use sign language and they don't. And so the thought came to me, to reach out to you to just ask if you could share a few tips about what are just 2 or 3 things that parents should be considering at this time in terms of keeping communication going with a child, in terms of continuing to encourage communication, encourage reading, encourage, building a lot of those skills that now that they're not in school, it's not being developed. And so I thought, we could just do a video together where we could now share this with other families so that they may get a few ideas on what they can do. So, so thank you so much, and for agreeing. And you're always my call. I call your name so often here in Jamaica. So, so the first question is, just what's your take on COVID and the kinds of impact that we may see happen for children, especially those who are in some kind of speech or intervention program, or children generally, but those who are nonverbal with this long break that is taking place. We could just talk to us about what are some of the things that could happen. First, that's the first question.
Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for having me. Sure, we can talk about COVID and our special needs population. It is challenging, especially for our children with special needs, to understand why we're home and why we're not at school and why we're not in the same routines anymore. And to understand, even for adults, that this is spreading and it's something that we can't really see. Even for adults who are, even in healthcare, have a hard time grasping the full extent of what COVID is. So then for us to explain to our children, and then our children with special needs, what this is and how it's impacting us and why we have to stay home and why we're continually washing our hands and covering our faces, it can be challenging for them to understand, and they may not actually fully grasp what's going on. When they want to go out and hang out with their friends, or they want to go over to somebody else's house, or they want to go down the street to the store because that's what they usually do, and you're telling them that you can't really do that anymore because it's a little dangerous for us now. It's hard to understand. But I do think now that kids are home and, it's not just a summer vacation anymore. We still have to be doing something. And I think having still some sort of routine for them is important. I mean, we get up and we still put on clothes and we may be working from home, but we still have a little bit of a routine that kind of keeps us going every day. And I think that's necessary for our children too. So still, like, we get up, we're going to get dressed, we're going to have breakfast, maybe we'll go outside and play in our yard for a little bit, or maybe, you know, we will have a period of reading, we'll have a period of educational games, we'll have a period of whatever it might be, but to still keep some sort of routine, I think, is necessary for them. Reading is great. I think still limiting as much as you can for being in front of a screen or using a screen as a babysitter. Challenging for parents that are working from home to kind of do both of, I'm working, so I need my children to kind of take care of themselves and entertain themselves. And usually that happens with, okay, let's go in front of a screen of some sort. Still limiting that might, it's always beneficial. Still interacting if they've got siblings, to play with each other in a game, a board game, or read to each other, or do an activity together. All of those things are educational in some sense.
Yeah, and I am glad that you shared that, because I have found that for the first week, 2 weeks, because Nathan has been home, this is his 5th week that he's been home, and for the first 2 weeks he just sat before the TV, because you were now trying to figure out how to fix your routine with everything that you're doing. I was in quarantine. Daddy was the one who had to go on the road. He was a designated going on the road, and the other siblings were helping out with other stuff, because what it meant as well is that the caregiver that we normally have could no longer come, because we had to also, she has a young child, but we also had to put her on quarantine, because we don't know who she would associate with and what she could possibly bring home. So we found that the help went. And so for the first 2 or so weeks, he was just planted before the TV morning until evening. And when I came out of quarantine, I began to look at how do I change that routine. And so as I was sharing with you before, we have a beautiful front yard, and we have an area that is cool up until about 10 o'clock in the morning. And so he gets up about 8:30, and we spread a big blanket on the grass, and we go out. Initially, he didn't want to, because he wanted the screen time. And then I just started introducing another element where we just did photographs. First, we did photographs of ourselves together, which he loves. And then, you know, I started pointing out butterflies and, you know, leaves and different stuff. And he would show me what he wants to take pictures of. And so we've been doing that. And then he has breakfast out there before he comes in, because after that, the day gets hot. And it is because he's non-ambulatory, meaning he uses a wheelchair. It's difficult to take him for a walk in a neighborhood, you know, because his wheelchair is heavy to get in and out of the house. And so we have had to be finding different ways. What we've done as well with him, instead of him just sitting and just watching whatever he wants, we've had quite a bit of like Discovery Channel videos on oceans and animals. So we are giving him a little bit of that as well, you know, in terms of for his history class or his geography class, you know, as he's putting it. But it is difficult trying to balance that, because when I do that, it means almost the first half of my day is used up doing that. And so with that said, one of the areas that I have a deep interest in is how to continue to build his communication skills using reading.
Okay.
And I remember that great activity that you did. So I'm going to ask you to talk about it for a little bit. And then, of course, we're going to grab Nathan so you can do an activity. But can you say why it is important for us as parents to continue to read to the children, especially at this time?
Well, you know, they're not in school, so they're not getting any sort of, I guess, formal education, but they're still learning. And so books is a really nice way to introduce vocabulary, to introduce concepts, to introduce a timeline, introduce cause and effect, all of those things. And to introduce new ideas and to get their imaginations going. And so that's why I really do like using books in that sense. But going back to your, you were talking about having Nathan outside and you're taking pictures of the different things that you're seeing. Oh, look at those butterflies, or look at the birds that are chirping. Do you hear them? A nice game to also play is maybe I Spy.
Yeah.
Like I spy with my little eye something that grows from the ground, and it smells very beautiful, and it has a it has a red it's green, and it has a red bud to it. What am I talking about? And to kind of give him that ability to kind of guess. So inference for games like that, reading does that as well too. Asking different questions in there. But I find just games of drawing them in that way is often nice. Or even, you're taking pictures of these different things, put them together in a collage of pictures, and you can play I Spy at a tabletop when you're having to be inside.
Okay. Excellent. My thinking cap is now on in terms of generating, what are some of the things that I can do, because we have a lot of pictures. And he actually love to look at the pictures. So I think I'm gonna to upgrade what we've been doing this week.
Well, and you device for him as well. So getting him to use his device with new vocabulary is often nice too. Well, what color is this? Maybe he has to go to the color page to find it, to be able to answer. Maybe just a little bit of background. Nathan is nonverbal, and he uses a device to be able to communicate, and he's learning to expand some of his language that way. So it's nice to see. I would really highly recommend using that more to expand. On that picnic blanket, you just put it down with him, and you start talking with him.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to do that, because I've been looking for. We've had activities with him using the NovaChat, but it's just, we've been introducing it slowly. So I think this is a wonderful time, as you say, because I was really thinking, all right, what do I do with him this week? Because we've taken the pictures, and we've looked at, and I asked him, do you remember what you learned about butterflies, where they come from? And, I had up some image, where do they come from? And he touched a caterpillar, and and then I said to him, this caterpillar, we used to have it in this tree, and he looked up, like, it's not there now. It's kind of a big caterpillar. So, so he's relating. So I think that, like you've said, it's a wonderful opportunity to now take out the NovaChat and just spend some time exploring it with him and using it.
Well, also, you had just mentioned, you're not certain what to do this week, and how can it change from the week previous, and all of that. I also like to do a lot of lessons based upon themes. So maybe this week it's just going to be about, butterflies and insects, and then maybe the following week we're going to do something on elephants. I don't know. Different topic per week. That way you're not kind of scrambling to find things. Maybe for a part of a screen time, maybe you put in a documentary about one of the things that you're currently discussing, and then maybe you read a book about it as well, to kind of give different mediums of this information. Maybe you do some sort of diorama or science experiment, or physical activity that has to do with the theme that you're thinking about doing for that weekend. That can switch every week too. So maybe Monday mornings is you're introducing it. Maybe Tuesday mornings, then you're touching these things, and you're looking at these things. And maybe Wednesday you watch a documentary about it. Maybe Thursday you do a science experiment about it, and then Friday they come up with their own story about it, something like that. That way, change the themes, but keep your somewhat activities the kind of a routine. So you know what to expect every day too, and something to look forward to.
Yes. So you talked about a routine. So in the instance that they're home, this is when we would introduce, perhaps for those who have not yet done that, the visual scheduling. Would that be important?
Yeah, I do like visual schedules. I do think they're important. I think they're important for everybody. We often have our own visual schedules, but it's in the form of, our calendar that's on our computer, or the calendar that's on the phone, or maybe it's written out next to the telephone in your kitchen, or on a board somewhere. But we keep track of our own schedules too. And for our children, especially with special needs, they like to know what's coming up as well. So on a daily basis, you can, okay, we're gonna wake up, and we're gonna have breakfast, and then it's going to be we're having a reading activity, and then you get your free time because mom has to work now. And then Tuesday, it's okay, we're going to get up in the morning, have breakfast. Well, now we're going to review what we did Monday and then add on to it. And so you have another with that. But to actually lay it out for them so that they see what's coming, whether or not that's in picture form, in a word form, if they can read, some sort of symbol that they can recognize that this is happening next. It helps with transitioning between different activities that you're doing.
Yes, yes. And for the visual schedule, also, we should allow them to be involved, perhaps by allowing them to look at the what's next and take off what we've already done. And for the video, I'm actually going to kind of do a little visual schedule that I'm going to use as an example, so that persons can see how they're able to create them easily and to use them. Because when you mentioned the fact that we as adults use visual scheduling, that resonated with me, because I found since I've been home, it's like I'm losing track of the days. So perhaps I'm thinking that one of the things that I should do is to have the days of the week as a visual schedule for him as well, to help him keep track of where we are in the week.
Yeah, so he can see the whole week, and then you can have your own little schedule per day of, okay, we already got up in the morning, what are we going to do next? We have breakfast. And so you can kind of do a daily one, at least bigger chunks of time. So maybe it's breakfast and you have an activity between breakfast and lunch, and then you have another 2 activities between lunch and dinner, and then you have 1 activity after dinner or something like that, just so that he can kind of see or know what's coming up next in the bigger picture. And of course, all of those activities could be broken down into even smaller segments so that they can see what's going on in each activity as well. It depends on how much that child is able to grasp and understand the whole schedule, and whether or not they do need it in segments at a time. It's very visualized.
Okay. So as we wrap up this part of the discussion, just what are the 3 key things, takeaways, that you would want parents to have out of our discussion?
I would say, for one, a schedule of some sort, a routine of some sort rather, that their children can get used to, because we do thrive off of routines and schedules. I would say you try to have, it's really hard as a working parent, working from home parent, to have other activities and be that teacher for your child as well as do your own job. So incorporate maybe more of educational learning into your everyday daily lives. So as you had done of breakfast with Nathan outside, and you started to incorporate some vocabulary with outside elements, that's great. You're using already what a routine you've set to kind of introduce something else. I think that's fantastic. And then a third one too is very, very hard to do, especially now. But do try to limit the amount of screen time with our children with special needs, children in general. I think they can get stuck and focused and in a way, addicted to a screen. And to kind of help not get to that point, do other things, reading, have them play games with each other, games with you, have them help you with chores, cooking, that sort of a thing, to maybe lessen the amount of screen time that you do have, or maybe just have a designated time for screens in only a certain time of your day. Outside of that, try to have them do something else. I would say those are the big ones.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for watching. If you click the subscribe button below, you can watch more and more video. Thank you for watching, and come back to this channel for more great videos.